Welcome to MirrorFly, a unified communications product for real-time chat, audio, and video calls SDK. In this video, we shall deep dive to see how to integrate the MirrorFly UIKit SDK in Android platform. You can easily set up pre-built UI components for chat and calls features using our UI kit in your in-app chat with all the essential messaging features. Our development kit includes light and dark themes, text fonts, colors, and more. You can customize these components to create an interactive messaging and unique interfaces. You should also be aware of some of the basic requirements before you start working on the Android UIKit integrations. Before moving into the integration part, you need to know about the SDK license key to initiate chat. You can get a valid license key from the MirrorFly user console or dashboard. You would need to be a registered user to access the console page. Since I am already a registered user, I'm logging into the MirrorFly user console. In the overview page, you can get access to the sample project source code, SDK files, and API credentials to test your integrations. Copy this unique license key and APIbase URL, add it to your project, and initiate the chat. Let's start with the UIKit integrations. In the first step, create a new project in the Android Studio. In the New Project screen that appears, you can select the type of project you want to create from categories of devices. So I select the empty activity. Specify the name of your project to start with your integrations. Select the minimum API level you want your app to support. Your project is configured to use Android libraries by default, which replace the Android support libraries. Now I have successfully created the libraries. In the second step, add the below code in the app/build.gradle file. Copy the plugin's ID. Paste the plugin's code in app/build.gradle file. Please note, in case the Kotlin Android Extensions Gradle plugin is no longer supported, then remove the Kotlin Android Extensions from app/build.gradle plugins. Now copy the Android dependencies. Paste the Android dependencies in app/build.gradle file to set the target for code compiler and Kotlin version. To avoid errors on dependencies, so we are using packaging options to implement the binding options for views in XML. Now moving on to step 3, if you are using Gradle 6.7 or lower, add the following code to your root build.gradle file as showed in the documents. If using Gradle 6.8 or higher, add the following code to your settings.gradle file. Here I am using Gradle 6.8 version in my application. Paste the Gradle code in settings.gradle file. This settings file defines project-level repository settings and informs Gradle which modules it should include when building your app. Now moving on to step 4, so copy and add the dependency code in the app/build.gradle file. This included all the required remote binary dependencies. These dependencies require that you declare the appropriate remote repositories where Gradle should look for the library. In app/build.gradle file, implement the MirrorFly UIKit SDK. In this video, we use the latest released version. This would be updated in future, and you might need to change it accordingly. Now moving on step 5, copy the dependencies required by the SDK in the app module/build.gradle file. Paste it to the code under app module/build.gradle file. Now moving on to step 6. Here we would copy and add the gradle.properties file into the project to avoid imported library conflicts in the project. This Android plugin automatically migrates existing third-party libraries by rewriting their binaries. Paste it in gradle.properties file. Now moving on to step 7 to add user permission. To add these user permissions, open the Android Manifest.xml and add the below permissions to integrate your Chat SDK. You must declare all permission requests with an element in the manifest. If the permission is granted, the app is able to use the protected features. Let's start the chat initialization. To integrate and run MirrorFly UIKit in your app, you need to initialize it first. Create a new base application file. Paste the initialize code. In onCreate function, you can initialize the MirrorFly UIKit instance by passing the MirrorFly UIKit adapter instance as an argument to a parameter in the MirrorFly UIKit.init method. Set app name first. You can copy the APIbase URL for your trial account from the Overview section in the console dashboard. I am using the Sandbox API endpoints for my application. You would need to use your unique API endpoints after having your server configurations done. Paste the APIbase URL in initialize function and remove the API/v1 from the base URL. You can copy the license key from the Overview section in the console dashboard. Paste the license key in initialize function. If you have subscription set is trial license key true, else set is trial license key false. Copy the application ID in build.gradle file. Paste it in base application file. If you have Google Translation key, paste it here, otherwise keep it as an empty string. If unique call set as is call enabled equals true, otherwise keep it as false. Let's see how to add base application in our app. Add the created base application to Android Manifest.xml. The manifest file is the foundation for any Android application. Every application must have an Android Manifest.xml file in its root directory. The manifest presents essential information about the application to the Android system. The system must have before it can run any of the application's code. Now moving on to register a user into a chat using a method. Use the MirrorFly UIKit SDK registration function after your application login process. To perform registration, copy the register code. Paste it in the main activity file before that you can give the activity main binding. View binding works with your existing XML and will generate a binding object for each layout in a module. Note, unless you log out the session, make a note that should never call the registration method more than once in an application. Unique ID assigned for each user set as any alphanumeric. For example, I have given phone number you can give as username also. Don't use special characters. Provide your Firebase token for the notification, otherwise set as empty string. If you display recent chat and call list, dashboard activity is the starting point for launching UIKit in your application. You will see a complete list of recent chats that you're made with single and group conversation. Create a new empty activity file. Specify the activity name, and I set the name-activity. Click the Finish and -activity file created successfully. Use dashboard activity only when you have done the registration. Copy the recent chat code. Paste it in dashboard activity. Go to main activity file. Call the -activity file once registration success. Register the user successfully so that app landing on the recent chat. You can now run the application on an emulator or a plugged-in device. Now displaying the recent chat. Tapping the icon in the top right corner, the app lands into the contacts page with all the registered users using the same license key. Then, you can select users you wish to start your chat with. Once the chat room has been created, enter your first message and send. You successfully sent your first message with MirrorFly. Great. We are now end of the Quick Start section in integrating the UIKit SDK. Hope this video is useful for your integration process. Please feel free to reach us for any support by raising a ticket from your console. Thank you.